The trend towards working with fewer partners in the clinical and commercial supply chains is certainly not a new trend, and indeed in some industries like the automotive industry, it's a very well established feature of their supply chain since the 1980s to work with a smaller number of strategic suppliers in long-term relationships. With tightening R&D budgets, increasing complexity of clinical trials, and a greater number of specialist products in approved commercial supply chains, there's been renewed focus in recent years within the pharmaceutical industry around those kind of strategic partnerships with suppliers, and very much looking not just for a smaller number of suppliers who can do more within one part of the supply chain, but also looking for suppliers and partners who can help across the entire commercialization journey from preclinical through into approved product. Price economies are a really important part of any long-term strategic partnership with suppliers. There's absolutely no question about that. But there is considerable further value that can be achieved through these partnerships, particularly when partnering with a supplier who can help not just along multiple touch points of the supply chain, but also from the entire journey from clinical into approved product, so across the full commercialization journey. A number of those benefits are around reducing the interfaces within the supply chain, so lowering risk, but they're also about enhancing the overall product in the sense of greater coordination, for example, between logistics and patient services. And it also allows the pharmaceutical company to really focus on their core competencies and take out the burden of managing, for example, some of the interfaces or the supply chain overall. And more than that, over the long term, one of the key benefits is the long-term development of new products in partnership between the supplier and the customer that potentially would never have been conceived outside of that long-term partnership. So benefits that are both short-term on price economies, medium-term in terms of enhancing the end-user experience, that of the patient, the physician and the provider, and also long-term in terms of innovation. There are a number of instances in which the benefits of working with fewer, more capable partners certainly are amplified. And one of the examples of that is in cell and gene therapy, a very complex area where there's really some magic in the benefits of these partnerships. The complexity of bringing a cell and gene therapy from clinical through into commercial is undoubtedly much more difficult than some other therapy owners and some other molecules. And oftentimes there are interdependencies that don't exist in other drug development programs. And optimizing for one, say manufacturing, certainly won't optimize the whole overall. And so what we're seeing as a trend in cell and gene is innovators looking for integrated solution providers who can help them in multiple areas and create, in effect, an ecosystem of services around their product, be that helping them with data aggregation, implementation of GMP manufacturing, specialized logistics, patient access programs, and even the analysis of health economics and outcome research data. All of that together amplifies each of those different components into something that helps navigate the complexity of the cell and gene therapy supply chain. Nonetheless, despite there being some areas where complexity lends itself well to integrated partnerships, the benefits nonetheless do extend across all aspects of clinical trial logistics, including into very simple blood sample logistics as an example, where a partner who can span both specialist and lower risk logistics and bring them all together within a single supply chain can drive benefits both on quality and price economics for their customers. Well, there are a number of very strong benefits of working with a smaller group of key suppliers. There are nonetheless some risks, and therefore it is really important to approach the selection criteria very, very thoughtfully. Much like a financial portfolio, as you increase that concentration of suppliers, it does create a risk if either a partner underperforms or fails overall. And so some of the things you can look for in that selection process is around continuity of that supplier's leadership, also continuity of ownership, but also around their overall strategic goals and their alignment to your own strategic goals. One of the other risks to be mindful of is a partner overextending themselves into parts of the supply chain in which they're not well skilled. So do your due diligence and look for the proof points of their capabilities before entering into a long-term strategic partnership. I think we'll see a number of trends in integrated partnerships over the coming years, in particular as the complexity of both the clinical and commercial supply chains continues to increase. And one of the trends that I'm most excited about is around partners creating partnerships of their own, in fact create an ecosystem that drives further value for their mutual customers. And we're already seeing the emergence of those kinds of partnerships. And one of the other areas that I think we'll see as an emerging trend over the next couple of years is around innovation. And the role of partners there, particularly those that are strategically aligned with your goals, will be to scour the market for innovations, test them against their claims, and then bring them to market at scale.